The purpose of Wealth Talk is to educate, inform, and hopefully entertain you on the subject of building your wealth. WealthBuilders recommends you should always take independent financial, tax, or legal advice before making any decisions around your finances.
Welcome to episode 116 of Wealth Talk. My name's Christian Rodwell, the Membership Director for WealthBuilders, and I'm joined today by our founder, Mr. Kevin Whelan. Hello, Kevin.
Hi, Chris. Good to be with you again. I think this is a continuation of the previous theme.
We had so much fun last week. We thought we'd just keep on going. So, last week we covered the 5 secrets to eliminate your mortgage, loans, and credit cards fast. And, we know it all comes from the book that you wrote, Kevin, which is Save a Fortune, and there's 12 secrets in there. So we thought, well, we've still got some more. Why not share another 5 on this week's episode?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and bring them up to date as well.
Yeah. So, I guess, if you didn't listen to last week's episode, which was 115, then head back, check that one out first, and then continue on with this. But let's just keep on rolling, Kevin. So if we did 1 to 5 last week, let's carry on with secret number 6 that we're going to share. And this one is linking money you owe to money you own.
Yeah, that's a good play on words, isn't it?
So what do we mean?
Well, what you mean by that is, when you think about, let's just go with basic principles, right? As an economist, I kind of know these things, but it's definitely worth just reflecting, right? Think about banking principles, right? Just think about banks, when they were set up, what they do, how they do it. They kind of have this arbitrage, meaning profit in the middle between the people who have savings and the people who borrow those savings. And we know that's how banks make money, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do it yourself. Do it yourself. What that means is there are ways that you can take the savings that you have, or indeed the income you're earning month by month, the money that arrives in your bank, not while you're asleep, but certainly while you've done the work, you're getting paid afterwards. But you can link those together through a tool which is known as offsetting. So offsetting. Now, I used that tool in the 90s when I paid my mortgage off, discovered this tool of offsetting. It's kind of like a mortgage that says this is the amount of money you owe on your mortgage. But electronically, any money you have in your life, in your bank account, in your savings account, in linked accounts, we will treat that money as if you paid it off the mortgage. The trick is you haven't. So you've still got access to the money. You've still got control of the money. You can still spend the money. But every single day it's in your bank, it's repaying your interest. It's reducing the cost of your interest. A very, very powerful tool indeed.
Well, comes down to that word leverage again, doesn't it, really?
Everything about wealth, Chris, will always come down to leverage. You cannot build wealth without it. Now, I know when we're talking about debt, we're always talking about making arbitrage on debt. And while we're not going to talk today about the opposite of this, which is when you can use debt you can borrow cheaply and use that money to get much higher rates of return, we know you can do that. But we're not talking about that. So we're not saying don't do that. We're not saying do use leverage debt. We're just saying if you don't want to do that, these are the ways that you can do certain things that will help you reduce what you owe, increase what you own. And if you do that, you're going to get wealthier. Might be slower, but it's certainly a pathway that people can follow or build in to their leverage as well. So you're doing a bit of both.
Just so for anyone who maybe is not aware of offset mortgages, Kevin, can anybody get one? And what's the process? Anything they need to know about that?
Any good mortgage broker will understand the principle of offsetting, and many institutions will provide an offset facility. The other good thing about that, when you talk about debt leverage, is you can take money out of the facility if you want to go and buy something like a deposit on a property or whatever. And then when you refinance that property, you can repay yourself back. So you can almost create a short-term banking funding line for self. So look up offsetting, talk to your mortgage broker about offsetting facility. If you can make it work for you, obviously some lenders don't do it. Wonder why they don't do it. Maybe because they earn less money. Who knows? Who knows?
Okay, well, that's a good one to kick us off with there then, Kevin. So our next secret then, number 7 is overpaying so that you can reduce the term of your debt.
Yeah, so just as offsetting, as I mentioned earlier on, is kind of a byproduct of you just living your life. You've got money in the bank, you've got money coming in from your wages or your business. The byproduct of having the money is the interest essentially is repaid off your mortgage, so you're paying your mortgage quicker. But, you might not have very much money, you might not have very much money. It's not repaying the debt, it's just the interest part is helping you. But what you could do is if you're making more money, if you're doing something where you're earning more money or, some other ways, and we'll talk about some other ways you can make money as well, Chris, but whenever you overpay, you can make the decision to overpay with the deliberate intention of reducing the term. So if you reduce the term of a debt, you're going to pay less interest. So instead of paying a mortgage over 25 years, if you can pay it over 15 years, but you don't have to commit to it, you just make an overpayment. So you're not having to force your monthly payments up every month. You're just making periodic, either regular or one-off payments. And when you do that, you ask them to take this off the capital, which reduces the term, right? So similar in many respects to the mistakes people make with life cover. They buy life cover, take it out over 25 years. Their mortgage might be going down, but they're not changing the life cover alongside. It makes sense to try and match cover to the term of your mortgage. And if you start reducing your mortgage, you can start reducing your cover. And then the savings you make on the reduction in cover, you can then apply to further still accelerate the repayment of your mortgage. So the real skill in this is understanding that you're doing things consciously. Whereas most people with their mortgage, it's a subconscious thing, isn't it? It's like my mortgage payment goes out. Yeah, that's just perpetuating debt. What if you could do something, think about it differently, and make conscious overpayments so that your mortgage is coming down and down and down and down and increases your security piece by piece by piece.
Yeah. And of course, everyone's got different loans and mortgages and credit cards with different terms, conditions. Always worth, of course, just double checking, making sure that, you're not going to get penalized or charged or anything for any of these things. So just do double check that first.
Oh, yeah. Always important to say, don't make any changes before you work out the consequences of those things. But these are just ideas, right? For anybody who could look at and decide, is this an idea for them or is this not an idea for them?
Okay. All right. So secret number 8 then is playing the credit card game. So what sort of game is this one?
Well, it's a temporary game. It's not a long-term game because if you play it long-term, you get caught. The short-term game is to recognize that, look, there's a lot of money in credit card companies make on the fact that when people slip up, that's when the problem happens, right? That's when you have to pay interest. So the skill is there are lots and lots of incentives and ways that you can participate relatively short-term in introductory incentives or credit-free, interest-free terms, things like that, or even 0% for a fixed period of time. You can take advantage of those things to start to, maneuver your credit cards, go back to marshal the forces and start to really focus on the elimination of that debt. And also there are some cards you can use. If you use them for conventional living, you can earn cash back. And if you can earn cash back, then it can reduce the cost of your life, either by vouchers or some other method. But then you can use that money. The danger with all these games is you forget you're playing. Your interest-free period ends. The introductory incentive ends. Instead of just using it for cash back and paying off the card every month, you spend too much. You overdo it, and then you can't afford to pay it off in full, and then the game starts to work against you. So this only works if it's a principle of a temporary game when you repay the payments in full. Otherwise, just don't play the game.
Now, one of the best resources out there, which I'm sure almost everyone will be aware of, but certainly worth mentioning, is of course money saving expert Martin Lewis, who's just put together the most fantastic website there with all of these kind of deals, really easy, well explained, lots of kind of calculators that he's created, so you can put your own numbers in and see how it all works out. So worth checking that out if you want to start putting some of these tips into practice.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're kind of at the halfway mark of today. So why don't we pause for a second and go and read out one of our latest reviews from Trustpilot. And this week we've had a review come in from Yaz. And Yaz says, we are business owners who approached Kevin for business mentoring in 2020 and then joined the Wealth Builders Academy following that. And we have found the expertise and the support and community led by Kevin and Christian, and through monthly mentor meetings and buddy groups, and of course their well-structured course, it's been overwhelmingly positive and inspirational. And it's transformed our mindset with regards to our future and opened our eyes to the many pillars in which we should be investing rather than relying on our business. And goes on to say, we've taken the first steps now towards building financial security and a legacy by setting up a SSAS through Wealth Builders. And we're now looking at other strategies and pillars to achieve financial security within the next 3 to 5 years. And we would not have started on this journey without being members of Wealth Builders.
How about that? That's great, isn't it?
Yeah, really nice. So
they're a lovely couple, Yaz and Tom, and just love working with them. They got a good business and they needed to move. And one of the great things is they've now combined the business with property. So instead of paying rent to a landlord, they're paying rent to themselves. And instead of that money going to pay for the profit and the wealth of the landlord, they're building their wealth themselves. So it's like a circular economy. So they're doing a great job, very humble people, lovely, lovely family. And they've introduced us so kindly to other members of their family too, such as their high regard for us and likewise our regard for them.
Okay then, right. So we are now on, where are we? Number 9. Okay, so this is paying off your mortgage on the side. And that kind of, reminds me of an episode we did back in episode 42, which was a little bit on the side.
Mm-hmm. Can you remember it all the way back then?
Was it spare time?
Yeah. So look, whenever you're building wealth, it's all about capacity. It's all about leverage. So putting aside whether you choose to follow this tip to build your wealth or whether you choose to use this tip to build savings, build an emergency fund, whether you choose it to reduce your expenses or to reduce your debt, it doesn't matter. The principle that we shared in episode 42 is still a good principle. And it says, wherever you can, make some money on the side. So as always, Chris, I try and find an interesting acronym for people to use, or a mnemonic, whichever way you want to interpret that. So S stands for spare time. Now, assuming you've got some spare time, it's trying to get into a discipline, into a process where you find some spare time and you make a decision about how you're going to use that to create some extra money. It doesn't mean then for those in jobs or those in businesses where you're needed in those things, you're chucking those things in, you're sacking the boss, you're escaping the rat race, you're doing something in addition to what you're doing. So as long as you can control it, what we want you to do is think about that and find some spare time you can dedicate. Now, assuming you can do that, then try and find something that reflects you, your personal interest. That's the I. Interest. What are you interested in? Everybody's interested in something. Is it a hobby? Is it we got a new member of our community, Chris, who just is mad about baking cakes. and is actually a patisserie chef. So so much as her commitment to be able to do something like that. She just loves doing it. So why wouldn't you make money on things that you're interested in? There's an increasing culture, isn't there, of declutter. I think we covered that on the episode. Told you about how my kids decluttered my CDs. I don't think I've got a CD left in the house, Chris. All gone to some funky magpie, or was it? I don't know.
Oh yes, the music magpie.
One of those. I think they kept the money, or maybe I don't know. But anyway, that was for a different purpose. But nonetheless, all of those sorts of things are useful to know. So, and it isn't that you can just do things for yourself. You can sell stuff in so many different ways. Look, we've all been through lockdown. We might have some things we don't want anymore. We might have some clothes we don't want anymore. We might have some gadgets we don't want anymore. And you can sell stuff, and use the money you sell to build your wealth, build your savings, reduce your expenses. So that's the key there. The D is, like everything in wealth, Chris, we don't want to be a drifter. We don't want to be a DIYer necessarily. We want to do. And the doers are the dynamos. That's where energy happens. So we want you to do something. And what I'm suggesting is you do it regularly. So it's once a month or once a week or once every period of time that works with you. So you do it religiously. So you don't just do it once. It's a continual process that you're creating regular on-the-side income, a side hustle, anything at all that generates more money. And the E is eliminate. Eliminate something. Either eliminate your expenses, eliminate your debt, or the flip side of that is build some savings and build some investments. So either way, make money on the side.
So definitely worth checking that episode out. I'll link to the show notes, to that in the show notes. Okay. And secret number 10 is quite simple. Just keep reviewing.
Yeah. And I don't mean review every week or review every month, but review every year. Anytime you've got a big change going on in your life, take time to review. If you've got a mortgage and it's got a fixed rate and it's got a set review, review that and review the whole process. Review your term, review your insurance, review your whole debits process. And we'll obviously relate back to debits many, many times because we encourage people to do their debits at least once a year. So not every week, not trying to get people to penny pinch, as I mentioned on the last episode, Chris. We don't do budgeting. We don't do penny pinching. It's just nice, easy things you can do that will have an impact. And if you choose and you want to eliminate or reduce debt and expenses in your life, you can do so. If you choose to plant those seeds and build your wealth, you can do that too.
Well, thanks for sharing those. And if you'd like to actually read through all 12 secrets, then you can download a free PDF copy of Kevin's book, Save a Fortune Fast. And you can grab that now. Head to wealthbuilders.co.uk/save a fortune. And it's a good little read, that, Kevin, and could save our listeners many, many thousands of pounds.
Well, that's what it was designed to do. So I wrote that book before Wealth Builders and the whole process had come into my mind. But it definitely stimulated it because the flip side and the sort of parting chapters in the book talk about a number of things which are themes that I've picked up. One of those is once you become, let's say it was a very simple process of becoming mortgage free, then, imagine it was just simply like that. There was just a day, that debt-free day when you owned everything, you owed nothing. Now you got all that money that you were spending on things that were expenses, insurance you needed, debt payments you needed, all of those things. And once you eliminate those, you can then use that money to start flowing into your life, to start building your wealth. So that's kind of, the germination of that. And the other part to it was to watch out for the habits that are easily copied with your kids, So kids watch what you do. And I mentioned that. So in many times it's just that use of cards that kids see. It's almost like, I remember the story of a kid, mum was in the supermarket frantically looking in her purse for a card to tap, and the little kid gave the library card to mum and said, "Mum, you can pay without." It's like kids see weird stuff, and we need to educate our kids that, being at least in control of your debt and not be seduced by hidden messages they see on TV and on other places that perhaps you don't get a chance to see. We want to get our kids to prosper from knowledge, not to succumb to it, which is what kind of happens these days.
So we're midway through July, and we're going to be taking a break in August, Kevin, as we do, just to recharge and obviously focus on our members. We've just had a big intake for the Academy. So just give you listeners a heads up that for August, we'll be taking a much needed break, and give you some time to catch up if you have a few more episodes that you need to listen to. And you're actually going on a break next week, Kevin. So we won't have a gap in our podcast, but you'll be taking some time out. So I hope you enjoy that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Looking forward to that. I mean, obviously, we're not going to the sorts of places that we're used to going. We're going to be spending some time in my roots up in Northumberland, enjoying the coast up there and enjoying the seabirds and the whole culture. And probably my sons will persuade me to buy them some Newcastle United football gear, as they always do. Dad, can we go to? Yeah, they're in their 20s and they still want me to buy stuff for them. But somehow when it comes to Newcastle United, I can't resist. But then again, a fool and his money are easily parted. And that's the only time I'm foolish with my money when it comes to my team.
Oh, okay. Well, we hope you enjoyed listening to today's episode. And Kevin will be back same time, same place next week.
Until then, my friend, see ya.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget that we are constantly updating our resources inside the Wealth Builders membership site to help you create, build and protect your wealth. Head over to wealthbuilders.co.uk/membership right now for free access. That's wealthbuilders.co.uk/membership.